Within unconsciousness is the illusion of freedom, a needle of attention sitting on a record of conditioning, playing a song about being a real singer. The easiest example of such to see is the true believer in a cult. But that's just the extreme on a continuum of brainwashing to which we're all subject to some degree, often unacknowledged even if recognized, for fear of heresy's consequence. It flies in the face of any assertion that a particular place is free, that there exist thought crimes there. A truth that benefits everyone, but no one in particular, likely has no marketing budget and requires no advocate to be true, though its advocacy can come with cost. As the beneficiaries of a false narrative that feeds on the public trust must defend their racket, persecuting even and especially those who, through logic, can point to its fallacy and eventual disastrous consequence. The corrupt are clad in the armor of their benefactors, who gain from the scam that will in time cause externalities. All types of moral hazard, like Enron, Madoff, Theranos, Epstein, whatever great taking is on the horizon. The truth is in that unpleasant consequence, not the narrative that leads to it. And in that disastrous assertion of truth called consequence is the chance to discover freedom. Disaster calls all to itself in the present, away from the honey traps of fantasy through which astral entities draw the energy that would otherwise satiate the hunger that inspires folly. This assertion of truth called consequence is the opportunity to be fully present and in full surrender to the scope, perfection, and sovereignty of the will that made this moment. In that discovery is a peace that nullifies the promise of all ideas that distract us from truth's bounty, not only in a superlative moment like this, but even in this mundane one. It's just a question of what it takes to make you let go of the perpetual fantasy that hides the truth of what's happening now. The calamity of truth's assertion is the opportunity to discover the connection between delusion and suffering, as the Buddha did in unveiling the Four Noble Truths. In the strongest adherence to conditioning is the strongest sense of being a willful and independent doer. And in that is the greatest fear for that doer, and thus that fear hides love, the love that is our natural state, in exposure to the truth. In attention's absorption in fantasy, and experiences augmented by it, can be the delusion of an exclusive connection to the truth. But such is a pseudo-reality, a relative truth, relative to what's held in mind, built from a mental consensus that's imparted through some regimen of conditioning. People who want to bend the world to an ideal, one that's held by enough people to credibly attempt imposing on others, if they carefully consider the origins of whatever ideal they're pursuing, they won't find it to be original to their being, but rather coming from exposure to particular content. The thing that people can seldom admit to themselves is that their views are a function of proximity. And with the state of worldwide communication, that proximity is more and more a function of where algorithms can place eyeballs and ears, and where filters can keep them from going. The point is that people ascribe righteousness to things that come to them by happenstance, and that despite the sacred label, their views have not been vetted by any real critical thinking. Their ideas have not been extrapolated out to consider second and third order consequences and how people may react to the situation to which their ideas lead, as if these realities can operate in a vacuum. Human history is replete with examples of people who thought their cause was righteous and would lead to the greater good, but that ended in human tragedy, if we are to be honest about the whole thing. Tens of millions of people have died because some idea grabbed the hold of a statist's mind. Like the Four Pests campaign. You can Google that. But that's the folly of centralized power. The inheritors of these civilizations will either point to this history as the source of evil as they build themselves an inverse ideology that's equally doomed, or they will quietly sweep it under the rug by rewriting history. But these episodes cannot be denied that certain madness falls over large numbers of people, and they do extreme things that destroy the quality of life on so many levels. It's the creation of discordia, and it's ushered in by people who believe fully in the righteousness and utility of their cause. To really see that you have to be here now.